Good evening. I am still filming in the dark. I've been meaning, well, I already have, but I've been meaning to make these videos more like consistent within my room or during the daylight, like during the early morning or like relatively early afternoon. But I've just been finding myself going out on walks more often at night. That's just how I've been able to find time to talk to myself, to think, and to ponder, and I guess to evaluate my current situation. So I hope you don't mind that you can't see my face. I will try to find a spot that illuminates, I guess, helps you see me more clearly. But it doesn't matter because I don't do these with the intention to be seen. So, what is the topic for this reflection? Well, I would say the topic of this reflection is concurrent with the wider scope of my life, which currently is and has always been to some degree to be a better version of myself, to be a happier, more robust, more competent version of myself, to be someone that's not easily broken or easily distraught or easily tempted. I've always wanted to be strong. I've always wanted to be reliable. I've always wanted to be intellectual. I've always wanted someone to say to me or to think of me or to know me as someone that doesn't play around. It's actually serious because there's an important thing about life. And that thing is that it's short. Life is very, very, very short. That's, everyone knows that. Everyone knows that life is short, but it's still crazy. It's still very crazy. And well, yeah. I think the hardest thing for me right now is believing myself, believing that I have the capacity to be the version I want to be, but also it's actually taking the initiative. It's actually acting. And it's been, I feel like, you might not believe in God, but I have reason to believe in him. And I just noticed that recently, or it's not just recently, but consistently, people have been asking me about stuff that I need to work on. So, for example, just today, I was out with a friend, and he asked me, "Hey, Cody, have you been doing your driver's license? Have you been learning? Have you been studying? How about your HSC? How's that going out?" And I just I didn't shrug him off, but I guess I said to him, "It's hard. It's hard to be strong. It's hard to be committed. It's hard to have the courage to do the thing, especially when you raise yourself and conditioned yourself to do the opposite, to avoid." And not just that, but also my dad, he's been buggering me about the driver's license and about getting a job. So is my sister, which is completely fair on them. I definitely should be at the stage where, I start applying, I start working. Actually, I should have started much earlier, but oh well. The main thing, although, right now, that's been, I've been realizing is, like my neighbor, I was just getting out of my dad's car, getting the groceries. He said to me, hey, Cody. And I said, hey, man, how are you? And, he said to me, hey, have you been doing your license? It's just asking to make conversation, because I am 16. This is the age in which I should have my license. And I said to him, no, I'm taking it slow. And that's what I said to him. I said, no, I'm taking it slow. And then he spoke to my dad for a bit. He's a good guy. But anyways, why am I making this video? Well, it's largely because today, yesterday, and the day before. Well, first of all, there are a total of what 9. Well, now it's late, or late and early. It's probably 8:20, maybe 7:50, I would say, right now. And oh, look at that! By doing this, you can see me better. But then you see my That's so weird how that works. Interesting. What do I do? No, it doesn't. Doesn't matter. I can't do flash, sadly. This phone is weird. But what was I gonna say? Well, yeah, there's a total of what 9, maybe 8, probably 8 days until my school break ends, and it's about 8 days until I have to practice for my trial end of year course exams. And obviously that's scary, but what I'm really trying to talk about is, my break is about to end and I still feel trapped. I still feel trapped. Like last night, I'll be brief, I'll be honest, I'll be blunt. I went to bed at 1 a.m. because I was watching YouTube. Because I was just watching random videos, random story videos, random comic narrations. Because I find that those videos are very comforting. I find that those videos are they allow me to escape reality. They allow me to escape my responsibilities, because I can stop being stressed out about everything, and I can just absorb or sweep all of that under the rug for just a moment and be able to just embrace the moment through watching YouTube. So that's what I did. I slept up until 1 p.m. 1 a.m. I mean, because I was scared to change. And I acknowledge that that's not a smart idea, because I know for a fact that when I get back to school, when I begin to actually have have it as a mandatory thing that I must get my license, that I must study for my HSC, that I must be a better student, then I'm going to have regret for today, because I'm going to wish I had prepared myself. Because if I don't, then I'm not going to have the best results, and I'm not going to get my car anytime soon, and I'm not going to be happy. Because, those periods of time, driver's license, HSC, and then the other period, they go away. They go away. So when you look back from afar, you think to yourself, damn, I wish I had done better. Damn, I wish I had performed to the best of my capacity, rather than just being scared of not doing enough, or scared of being stupid, scared of actually not being able to work. Because there's a difference in choosing not to work than not being able to work. And I think I actively avoid I guess I actively avoid working, because I'm scared that I will realize that I can't do it. And then I will realize that I'm not smart enough, or that I'm dumb, or that I'm just unable to change. It's been an underlying fear for as long as I can remember. Ever since I was young, I always had challenges with thinking, or with working. I was never a bright student in early primary school, and those fears have generated and morphed and formed into who I am right now. They're insecurities, basically. And they have been so absolutely firmed into my foundation that they're very hard to notice, and they're very hard to break, and they're very hard to realize. To realize that I have insecurities, to realize that There are these things that have been, I guess, relevant to very, I guess, developmental parts of my life. But yeah, what's the purpose of this reflection? Well, I would argue it's that I say that I want to be better, I want to be smarter, I want to be more committed. But what is the thing that actually creates change? Well, it's that, I guess I have to say, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt, but it's gonna be worth it because it will end. And if it's gonna hurt, it's gonna feel good. Because I'm used to pain. I love going out for runs. I love pushing my limits when I'm running. Because it feels rewarding, it feels satisfying, it feels like I care about myself. Running is one of my favorite activities. And it's painful. It's one of the most painful, I wouldn't say the most painful, but it's an exercise that most people don't like because it hurts. And I'm out here enjoying myself by running. So, and likewise with work. The same way one can enjoy exercise, I think you can enjoy your work. But I'm just too scared. I'm too scared, and it's not just that I'm scared, but it's also that I believe it's hard. I believe it's impossible. I don't just believe it's impossible, but I believe that I will give into the cycle. I believe firmly in my soul that I will waste this weekend, that I will come back from this holiday and I will be at school and I will complain to myself why I didn't use up my time, why I didn't change. And that will be because that is all I know. Giving up is all I know. Because it's all I see. My mom, my dad, they've influenced the man that I am. And frankly, the people that they were weren't their best. At least for the parts that I knew them for. And as a result, I've inherited who they are. My mom was an addict, so I have issues with denying attachments. My dad was depressed, or is depressed, and I have issues with I guess, overcoming my fears, my anxieties, the overcoming the desire to give up. Because that's what depression is, I think. It's to be hopeless, but it's to be hopeless and do nothing. It's to be hopeless and think that it's impossible. It's not necessarily. Depression is very, very, very multifaceted, and it's very complicated and it's very difficult, and there are varying degrees of significance and of, I guess, potency that depression can have on people. But I guess I'll admit it, I've been very unhappy. I've been very melancholic. I felt hopeless, I felt meaningless, I felt like I might as well just seep into my bed and not come out. I won't know if that's depression, but I dare say it is something. It is sadness. Whether it is depression, I don't know. But what I do know is it's been controlling my life, and it's been causing me to be unhappy, and it's been causing me to feel scared. Scared of what? Death. Because I'm scared that I will die one day, and that I will die knowing that I wasn't happy. Dying knowing that I could have been better. Dying knowing that I could have known love. Knowing that I could have had friends. Knowing that I could have actually been smart. Because, I believe that for so long that I am just stupid. That I am useless. That I do not have the capacity to be intellectual, to be academic. Because here's the thing, no one likes working. No one likes no one likes having to do homework for hours and hours. But if it means that I can look at myself in the mirror and say, yes, you did it, then I would happily work. I would happily study. Because this belief Oh, this belief of knowing or believing that you're stupid, it kills a man. It kills a man because when you complete an exam and you get the results and you see people looking at the results and one guy saying, oh, I got this, or another person saying, oh, this wasn't my best, and then you look at your own results and you see what you don't want to see. You see that you could have done better. You see that the smartest kid gets a pretty decent result, and you begin to imagine how you could have gotten that result. You begin to imagine that if you had studied for this amount, and then if you had done this and you have done that, then you would have actually very easily done, say, equal or just below than the smartest kid. And you realize, damn it, I missed out on the opportunity. And then you feel sad, and you feel unhappy, then you feel stupid, and you feel stuck, and then you just like, why do I sabotage myself? Why do I dislike myself? Why do I not study? Why do I not do this? I know this will hurt me, but I still give in because you forget. Because that's what a cycle is. That's what a cycle is. It's you doing the same thing over and over again. And that's it, basically. You do something, you forget about it. Well, it's not that you forget about it, but it's more like it's muscle memory. So consequently, because it's a muscle memory thing, you don't really pay attention. And if that doesn't make sense to you, let me just simplify it. If I were to do bad in an exam and I get my results, then I might react in a very negative way. I might say, "Oh, I'm so stupid. I'm so unhappy. I'm such an idiot," right? And that's a very compulsive thing to do. It's very easy to berate yourself. It's very easy to immediately react with negativity. That's a compulsive response, and you don't really think about the impacts that reaction has. You just do it, and then later on, you move on with your day, and it kind of just gets buried with it gets buried as time progresses, as time moves on. And then you have another exam and you do the same thing because you didn't pay attention to the processes that led you to failure, the assessment task before. So you make the same mistakes. And then you get confused. Why did I make those same mistakes again? I'm so stupid. And you get back into the cycle. And it happens again, and again, and again, and again. Until you either change, make an initiative to change, or you seep in deeper and deeper until you just give up completely. For a certain period, of course. Then you might want to get back, but then you get back in and you get back in, and then it's just that struggle. Because here's the thing, to give up, to rely on temptation, to rely on escape, to rely on entertainment is such an easy thing to do. It's such an easy thing to do because it just takes a moment. Especially with the phone, because if I have free time, which I do, I basically have free time. Right? I don't work, I don't know. I have free time right now. And therefore it is so criminally easy for me to simply just go on my phone, to just pull up YouTube Shorts or TikTok, and to just live, to just exist, to exist in this day, to exist. I just went through a spider web. To exist and not remember or care about what you're doing. It's so easy. And then you wake up from this hoax, this shell that you made for yourself, and you don't like what you see. But because you don't like what you see, you feel angry and you feel unhappy and you feel sad and you feel disappointed. And that causes a negative response. And what does that negative response cause you? It causes you to need relief, right? Because if you feel bad, you need relief. And that relief can be viewed or sourced through temptation, through addiction, through unhealthy habits. So either you choose to get out of the bubble, get out of the cycle, and experience withdrawals, experience discomfort, and experience the temptations, or you go back and you get relief and you feel happy for a moment. You give up, and then by the end of everything, you ask yourself why. Because here's the thing, all those struggles, those backs and forths, you don't remember them when you're at the end of the road. All you remember is the fact that you gave up. And that's the scary thing. That's the scary thing. I hope I'm making sense. Maybe I'm not, maybe I am. It's okay. It is what it is. Even while making these videos, I am right now scared of change. I am right now feel like I'm unable to change, feel like I'm unable to make progress, feel like I am unable to do the right thing. It's just hard. It's just hard. It's very hard and it's scary and it's weird because there are people who live far worse lives than me. There are people who are forced to work, who are forced to live a certain way, and right now I'm fortunate because I have the choice. So I do have to humble myself in that regard. I do have to say to myself, hold on, yes, I am scared, yes, this is a responsibility that I have to take on, but it's not end of the world. There have been people who have been through worse than me, and so therefore, by consequence, this isn't impossible. I won't say it's not. It's easy. I'm not gonna say it's not that hard. But I do think that we as people make it more difficult than it is. I see that with myself all the time. I make it so difficult. A driver's license. It's so easy. At least, it's easy as you think it is. You just study, you memorize, you learn, and then you do the test, and that's it. It takes a week or two. But when you're used to doing nothing, when you're used to being a failure, when you're used to being useless, when you're used to giving in, when you're used to having no responsibility, when you're used to just wasting your time, and then being content with it, not being happy, but being content because you think you have tomorrow, because you know you have tomorrow. That makes things more difficult. It makes it much more difficult. But regardless, I'm thankful to God that I'm able to notice this, I'm able to see the warnings. I just hope that I will be able to heed them, to take the opportunity. But yeah. What does that mean for me right now? I want to conclude on one more point. Then I'll finish. And that point is I heard it from this guy. He really made an emphasis on being a winner. That happiness is tied towards winning. And not winning in the sense of being the best, winning every competition and being absolutely, the top 1%, but being a winner in the sense of being better than yourself. Being better than yourself, because when you're better than yourself, then you're winning, right? Because you're winning against the version of you the day before. That's what it means to be a winner in everyday life. Because in everyday life, you're not racing against anyone else but yourself. And even if you're racing against others, that can sometimes be overwhelming, be sometimes too overpowering. And so just limiting it to just yourself can be a starting point to being able to start and or finish the race with others. But either way, we're on a race against ourselves. That's final. At the end of the day. And therefore, to be a winner doesn't mean to be the best out of everyone. It just means to be better than who you are right now. And how do you do that? Well, I think for me, I think for many others, a part that makes us unhappy is the fact that we omit, the fact that we have dreams, that we have a version of ourselves that we want to be, but we're not there. We don't choose that part. We don't get there, or there's just something that makes it difficult. And so we feel unhappy with ourselves because we're not the person we want to be. So then to be a winner, I think, really means to establish a set of standards, or a criteria, to have a criteria that you follow each and every day, so that you can be this version. So that may be an example of, well, honestly, it's a routine. What I'm trying to say is having a routine. Waking up at a certain time, doing a certain amount of exercise, doing a certain amount of study, doing a certain amount of pondering, doing a certain amount of socializing over a period of time, each and every day, each and every week. If you have that, then you're a winner, because you're being better than the self you were before, and the self you were before was the person that didn't do any of that. So I guess the question is why aren't I a quote-unquote winner? Why aren't we winners? Why is it so hard? Because again, we make it more difficult than it actually is as people. We make things too difficult. It's not that difficult. It's actually been easy. And why do we make it difficult? Because our brain kind of, anxiety, insecurity, belief, stuff like that, these mental blocks that we put for ourselves make life so much harder than it is. And being able to surpass those blocks will allow us to be winners beyond the surface level stage, I should say. So it means to be a winner, in essence, or how to be one, is to have one goal. But that's the thing. I don't want to start slow. I don't want to start slow. I say that every time, but I say, the best way to develop good habits is to compound, meaning to start small, then to get our way up. But I don't want to start slow. I want to be able to start to a certain level. But then I look back. When I started running, I wasn't running kilometers when I started. I ran a certain extent, and that amount was a very short amount, and I wasn't really running, I was more jogging. It wasn't really jogging, I was more like speed walking, because my cramps would be so painful, or my legs would be so discomfort, like running would be so discomforting that I wouldn't even run. It would just be like a very short, small, very long jog. But that's the thing, I didn't start amazingly. I didn't start by running 5 kilometers every day. I started with just 1 kilometer, and then I made my way. In essence, what I did was, I didn't push beyond the amount that I knew would cause me to fail. Rather, I pushed to the extent that my capabilities are what's the word? I didn't push beyond my limits. Now that phrase can be a little discomforting, or can be a little tricky, because you do have to push your limits. That's a good thing. But when you're starting something out, the worst thing you can do is gas yourself. Because if you run 10 kilometers, if you went from 0 to 100, if you went from running no times out of the day, no times out of the week, and then you just all of a sudden pushed yourself and you grinded to 10 kilometers one day, you're gonna gas yourself out, and you're gonna hate running, you're gonna hate exercise, and you're gonna want to do nothing for the whole year. That's what happens. So I do love running. I absolutely love it. But I started very, 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 very small. I didn't start inconsequentially small. I didn't start like running 1 meter. No, I ran, but I ran to what I could give. I didn't go over that because if I went over it, I would hate it. Then I would be scared because each and every moment of running would be discomforting, and that would cause me to fall. So instead, I just did what I could, and that caused me to come back. And when I came back, I got better. Slowly, but eventually, after coming back so many times, I started running the way I think I should run. I started running more appropriately. I started having more endurance. My lungs were able to have a bigger capacity. I was able to be more athletic. And so with being a winner, with having that criterion, with being that person, I guess it's not about necessarily going 10Ks at the beginning. It's about being consistent with those 1 kilometer runs and establishing a foundation for yourself and for your brain to be able to accompany that amount of additional work that you're putting on. So if I want to study, if I want to work hard, I do have to take into consideration that my brain is a body part, and it needs to adjust, it needs to evolve, it needs to change. So I guess when it comes to starting small, it isn't a willpower issue, but it's more so a cognitive and a scientific and a bodily problem that needs to be adapted to. It doesn't mean cold turkey is impossible. Quite the opposite, it's very possible. But it must occur with the foundation. You have to have that foundation, otherwise you're gonna fall. That's what I know. That's what I believe. So yeah, I guess to be a winner is to have a criteria that allows you to be the best version yourself, to be a better version of yourself than the day you were before. That's how you become a winner. And to be a winner, you should have a criteria. I'm sorry about the lights, but you should have a criteria that you follow each and every day to ensure that you are the person that you want to be. And if you're starting out, start small, not because you're incapable of starting big or because you don't love yourself enough that you have to start small, but it's actually because you need to establish the foundation for yourself to be better. Then when you establish that foundation, then you are able to bloody work as hard as you can, to push yourself, to go hard. But I think for me at least, that foundation is very important. And I shouldn't be scared of it. In fact, I should love it. Yeah, but that's it. That's it. I'll make another video tomorrow if I get the chance. I'll see what happens. Bye.